So we're going to talk about the Bustin longboard here. Now I got the Bustin board Hybrid V3 custom, and I'm pretty happy with it actually. I came from a Meepo NLS PRO, and I'll be comparing them in a little bit, but my initial thoughts were it's pretty nice. The bearings are really good. I'm digging the clear wheels. I got the custom, so I selected the red trucks, the carbon battery pack, which I actually scraped up on my first ride. Gonna try to get that paint off. Carbon looks pretty badass. This graphic back here looks pretty cool in combination with the red trucks, I think I'm gonna go with the larger wheels. These are the 90mm wheels, and they're good. If you're on really smooth roads, I suggest these, but my town sucks pretty bad, and our roads are terrible. So I might be going with the 100mm wheels. I might get the black ones, I'm not sure. But I'm really happy with the board. Overall quality control, I'm a little disappointed for the price. This being an American board, the Chinese Meepo seemed to be a little bit better quality straight out of the box. I'm not sure. There's like, I can't tell if you see this on the camera, but I thought those are scrapes, but they're actually like small bubbles in like the clear coat and the fiberglass top, or the epoxy top, whatever they do. So that's kind of a bummer. I mean, it's not really a big deal. This thing, I mean, as you can see from one ride, it's already got scrapes on the trucks and on the battery pack. They get beat up pretty good, especially downtown. In my neighborhood, our neighborhood's like really smooth. They just repaved all the streets up here. It rides insanely good. Like no comparison really compared to the Meepo. The Meepo is just so tall off the ground. I'll show you a comparison here actually. That is insane. I don't know if you could see that, but it's got to be like 3 inches taller. But, I mean, for really rough commutes and stuff, the Meepo NLS PRO is a really good commuting board. I think if I had to choose one to like ride to work or something, if I had to, I would probably want to be on this. The bamboo board just has so much flex in the deck that it's almost like its own suspension really. You could come up to like curbs and you don't really need to do much. You could just ride right up them with the 100mm wheels too. You could kind of like pop it up using the board as like kind of a spring to get up over small lips and cracks. But if you're riding around town and you're riding to have fun, I think I'd probably rather have the Bustin board, honestly. It's just such a better design. It's so much lower, so when you're riding, you could like kick push way easier than on this board. On this board, I had to like lean down so far that every time I pushed, I would get really off balance, especially with the flex of the deck. It would bounce you. So, kind of sketchy for a novice rider trying to kick push this. But this board, with one foot on the deck, your next foot, it's like right there to get down on the ground. So it's just way less stress on you while you're riding. You don't seem to get as tired when you're riding that board. But the deck is a lot firmer, which kind of goes back to the commuting aspect of it. When you're riding this board for a while, you get all those vibrations in your feet from bumpy tar or cracks, and those small vibrations really just start hurting your feet after a while. So like the same distance on this started to hurt my feet while I was riding that. I did notice that. I had thinner socks on while I was doing that ride with this. But I've only done this, I don't have a really long-term review of that yet because I just got it. I've really only ridden it probably like 2 days worth, like full days. I've gone on like multiple rides, but just a handful. And so far, I like it a lot. I thought this board was very like carvy while you're riding it, especially on smooth roads. It just felt really good. But then just one ride up the road on this board, it's a totally different league. You could just tell it's a skateboard. It just feels like an electric board. This kind of, you almost forget it's an electric board. It really feels like a skateboard. When I'm going down the road, you could just carve effortlessly, and I didn't really mess with the trucks that much. I tightened them a little bit. They were really loose. I would get up over like 20 miles an hour and get a little wobble, so I tightened them a little bit. And they're kind of really loud right now. I think I gotta figure out how to get rid of that, whether it's like graphite in the bushings on the trucks, because that noise annoys me. I think I fixed this board, so I got to do it to that one. But, the NLS I've had for a little over a year now, and it's a really good board. Out of any other electric board, honestly, I would this is the board you want, the NLS Pro. This thing goes insanely fast. I get it up to 30 miles an hour. I'm over 200 pounds, 5'11". It has no problem accelerating. It's quick. The brakes are awesome. It's a good board. The only problem is it's a Chinese company, and when I ordered it, they were giving me a really hard time. It took like freaking months for it to show up, and after dropping that much money to a foreign country, you kind of feel like maybe it's never going to show up, especially when the company doesn't even like email you back for weeks. So, oh, and then when I got it, the remote actually had a dead battery on arrival, from what I could tell. So that sucked really bad. I was waiting forever for this thing, and finally I was able to use it, and I opened the box and the freaking batteries shot. So luckily I'm into RCs and stuff. I had a small battery pack for one of my small RCs. I don't have one right here, but ends up it was the same voltage, double the milliamp hours. So instead of like, I think it was like 150 milliamp hours, I soldered in this little LiPo RC battery that's like 500 milliamp hours. And this thing, you could literally, you do not need to charge it for like a month. The thing just never goes down a bar. It's insane. So it's kind of better, I guess. It was sketchy at first, that trust factor, especially when you've never e-skated before. The brakes just are like, it's Bluetooth or whatever. So you kind of have to get over the mental fear there. It just made it way harder too, because I had to freaking customize the remote and solder in my own battery. So that was terrifying, but I got over it and it's been working really good. I did email the company Meepo about it, and they did send me a remote, brand new, no questions asked. But I told them to overnight it because I was really upset about how long it took me to get this board, and they said they would, but it didn't come for another like week and a half or something. But by that time I already fixed my remote, and I never even opened that yet, so it's cool. I have an extra remote. But I think at the time this was like $700. This V3 Bustin board custom is like $1,100, but you're getting your design, the graphic you want, the case you want, the trucks you want, the bearings you want, the kind of wheels you want. It's made in America by skaters who are all really cool. They got their own YouTube channels. You should look them up. They do cool stuff. But I think I'm gonna opt for a set of black 100mm wheels, just because I'm so used to these large wheels. I was hitting some cracks and it was like making me kind of nervous, especially when you're going like 20 miles an hour. You don't know if it's just gonna stop dead or kind of go over it. And I think these wheels really just tend to go up over stuff way easier in a downtown shitty sidewalk, shitty road setting. So if you have bad roads and bad sidewalks, get the 100mm wheels. The good thing with this, they're just sleeves, really easy replaceable, I guess. You just unscrew the front case on the wheels, and then you slip the sleeve off, and then you just put the new one on. This, I don't even know what the deal is. I'm pretty sure the wheels, the urethanes, are just attached to the motor sleeve that goes over the motor, and it's all part of the motor. So you gotta go to China and order some wheels, and that'll probably take 6 months. Got a big crack in this one, actually. But I love this board. It feels just more like a skateboard. Definitely more fun, I think. In the right settings. Smooth, decent roads. It's probably, I don't know, 5 pounds lighter maybe? It's a little lighter, but the main thing about the weight is it's distributed better. Like this, I could just pick this board up so easy because that battery and electronics are just spread out the length of the bottom of the board. So when you get up to a really steep hill, you don't want to really kill the battery. You bend down to pick it up, it's no big deal. Where this thing, you just look like a tool getting off of it and picking it up, and it wants to just flip, like you can see it. It's got so much weight distributed at weird places that like I can feel it in my lower back now. When I get to the steep part of my ride, I'll walk probably 50, 100 feet up the steepest part of the hill, and the next day my back would be killing me, and it's because I'm fighting the way I'm carrying this thing. You almost have to use two hands because it just wants to roll. And the grip tape is insanely sticky, so you can't really carry it like that. But that's enough of the Meepo. The Bustin board, you're just getting your money's worth, I feel like. I do notice a small, like, squeak. I think I read it somewhere. Somebody else was reviewing them, and they were getting a squeak out of the ear things on like a smooth road. Not sure if something was stuck on my tire or not. It was just strange. Maybe you could put graphite in there too. Just quiet stuff. I don't know. Take the sleeve off, put graphite, put it back on. Not sure. They seem like they have good bushings. Not even sure what they are. Maybe venoms. The remote. When I was looking at videos, I'll show you the remote here. So the screen's actually upside down because you could look at it this way, and it is more intuitive when riding to go like this rather than the Meepos, which is normal, and you're going down the road like this. I feel like it is easier just to go like this rather than keeping your finger on a wheel, pushing forward. But I don't know. It just seems more ergonomic, for sure. And the grooves cut out is pretty cool. You definitely have a better grip on this remote. And I love the way that it looks like wood. It just, I don't know, it's just like cool detail. Supposedly the grain's different in a lot of them. I'm not sure if that's true or not. You can see the size comparison between a Meepo and a Bustin board Delumo remote. I like the remote. One thing for their, it's kind of like nitpicking, I guess, because here's a e-skateboard that you're allowed to customize, and it's a good company, known in skating. But I wish there was like a little bit more modding you could do to them. For the price, I feel like you could probably, they probably should, you know, have more designs for the cases or match the cases to the board. And I think I picked this design out of, I don't know, maybe 8 different designs. And it's like, for a skateboard, there should be 100 designs that you should be able to choose from, personally. And I've seen reviews, some, where they're older versions and they're colored, like the tops are colored. For some reason this is like a natural like fiberglass color or like wood type color. It's kind of cool. I mean, even from like a foot away, it looks like wood. But I feel like they should let you choose the color of the top that you want. Or even like matching graphics of like wood, grain and stuff might be a little bit better. But I'm an artist and I nitpick stuff like that, so. The carving on this board just feels so good. When you're turning on this, the lip on the board, front and back, or side to side, just gives you so much control. It's like effortless, just leaning and cutting around a corner like really sharp. Really, I got back just like dumbfounded, really. Just compared to that board, I've been riding for a year, and I ride around my neighborhood, and I get back and I'm just like, wow. It feels like surfing or snowboarding, I guess. Just so smooth. And even though the trucks are kind of tightened, it's just, there's this drop through design is just insane. The amount of play that you could get and turn without biting. It's good. I like it. Now I noticed like on YouTube there wasn't that many reviews of the Hybrid 3, and I even talked to the company about it, and they said they don't pay people to do reviews, so I'm not getting paid by this. I'm just doing this for other people because I was bummed I could not find a V3 review on YouTube, and as a lot of you know, there are so many reviews on YouTube of other skateboards and all these Chinese brands, and I just wanted an American board, and it was scary just jumping into it for $1,000 and not seeing reviews or ride videos depicting what the board's capable of. All these electric boards, they all have like different batteries, different types of cells, Samsung batteries. Some, you know, give more power output than others. Some are longer lasting than others. It gets confusing, and especially the motors too. You know, they all claim different wattages and stuff and outputs, and I feel like that's kind of confusing a lot of people, because in the real world, I'm not sure if that stuff really plays out like you think it would. Because I think by the data or the specs, the Meepo NLS should be further riding than this board. More range, faster, and whatnot. And after riding both of them, I'm not too sure about that. I got back off like a 12-mile ride, and I was down probably just 1 or 2 bars, and I think it has like 4 bars. So, well, that's one more thing that's kind of cool about the Meepos. It's not super accurate, but they have a little screen here on the battery pack. You can just press the power button and see that it's 100% charged, or whatever the charge is while you're riding. So you just hop off, check it really quick, and you know that you're 40%. And I don't think it's that accurate, because sometimes it'll be like 40%, and then I'll plug it into the charger, and as soon as you plug it into the charger, it says, 50% or 30%. But I think it gives you like a rough idea of the percentage, and that's just useful, because there were times when I was riding with my friend who has the V2 small Meepo, and we would stop, he would check his battery and see that he's 40%, and I would just have my screen on the remote and it says I'm down 1 bar. I don't know what that means. So I was like, whatever, I guess I'm just gonna run it till it runs out. We kept running them. It was a really hot day the other day, probably close to like 95 in the sun. The road was insanely hot. You could actually feel when you hit like soft tar, like it starts slowing the board down. And towards the end of the route, I was going up one of the hills, and the board kind of cut out a little bit. It didn't just cut out, it kind of just got a loss of power under throttle. That was weird. My Meepo's never done that. This did, but right before I got to the hill, I changed speed. I noticed I was on the speed 3 setting, so I went on 4 to go up the hill faster. And as soon as I clicked 4 and then gave it more throttle and started going up the hill, it kind of cut out. Not sure if maybe that kind of confused the remote, or maybe it was kind of overheating and it tried to save itself, or the battery was getting low and it didn't like outputting that much voltage without regulating it itself. So maybe that's what happened. Not sure. The Meepo, when you get low, it vibrates and then it cuts power. So and then it'll keep vibrating every like minute or so until you start getting really low, and then it starts vibrating more. Not even sure if this remote does that. I don't think it does. So maybe that's what that was. When I got back to the house, these wheels were so freaking hot, like you could not even touch them, you would get burned. But I mean, this was a stress test. I mean, we were riding up hills that these boards almost can't even make it up. We get off and walk like 100 feet just because why waste power to go 1 or 2 miles an hour up a hill when you could just hop off and walk? So and save that energy. So we get off and we walk. So insanely steep hills, a lot of speed runs, wide open for the length of a street, almost like a half mile or something. And it being like the hottest day of the year. It might have had a factor in why the wheels got so hot. Not sure. My buddy's Meepo did not get as hot. The wheels were hot, but I mean, you could fry an egg on these. They were that hot. And I think it might have to do with the plate on these wheels. I don't know if you could see that, but they're like CNC aluminum, I would think. I think that's probably just retaining heat way more than the Meepo. Well, I painted these just so they look kind of trippy, but they're kind of just thin steel plates, and they have grooves in them, so they're really thin on some sides. They also kind of have grooves here on the inside of the motor. I mean, that gets wind right there. That might essentially be its own heat sink. I'm not even sure. I just know that board didn't get that hot in the summer, so something to look out for. I'm still just getting used to this board, but I really like it. I think I've seen one review where somebody was actually riding it, and they weren't really talking about it, but they were just riding around Hawaii, I think, and that sold me because I watched the whole video. I think it was like 30 minutes long or 25, and usually that's how long my rides are, because my feet will start hurting after that. Getting kind of old, but he was going up hills and around roads that kind of look like sort of what I'm dealing with over here in Connecticut. So it kind of helped me decide, like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna buy this board. Even though the statistics on all the specs didn't seem like it would even really compete with the Meepo. And even when I'm asking Bustin, they had like limited answers, really. So it is just kind of weird. I wish they had more reviews. That's why I'm doing this. I suck at reviews. I've never even done them. I don't really do YouTube videos, so I'm just doing this to help people that want to go out and pay $1,000 for a skateboard, and they're on the fence and they don't know what to do. So hopefully this helps you decide in your choice. I know there's a ton of videos on like Wow Goes and X-Ways and God knows the name of some of these Chinese companies, Backfire. I was in a toss-up between a Backfire and the Meepo, but that bamboo board is key. If you have shitty roads, get the bamboo board. I'm glad I read somewhere that somebody said that, because I listened and I'm really happy that I did that. And I was gonna see between the two of these boards really which one I liked more, and then I would probably end up selling the other one. But after just having this for a week, I'm not sure. They feel different, and I like each one for different reasons. Maybe if I knew some friends were going to ride downtown or something, I would probably ride the Meepo. Unless I get bigger wheels, then I would probably just pick this. Just because the way you could carry it easier, it's lighter, you could push it more. See, that's part of the range thing that confuses people. It's like, alright, these are skateboards, so you could still push with your feet, and if you could, like, why wouldn't you? Instead of using power, it's exercise. It's pretty easy to do, especially on this board, it being so low. Your foot barely even, you don't even have to reach down for the ground, it's just right there. So on really flat ground, it's just easy to kick this up to like 6-7 miles an hour. And I mean, you do that around a corner or after a stop sign or after crossing a street or something from a dead stop. If you were to push, I mean, I just figuring this has to be the most power that you're going to use is from a dead stop. Taking 200 pounds of rider in a 20-pound board up to 15 miles an hour from a dead stop, that's got to be taxing on any battery. So if you could kick push every time you want to start up till 8 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour, and then get on the power, this board could probably outlast the Meepo, where just naturally you're not going to be kicking that as much because it's not comfortable to. So, and it's just not feasible really in most cases. I'm gonna try to get this curb paint off the case, just because this case is, I think it's like a faux carbon fiber. It just looks beautiful, so definitely want to try to get this paint off without ruining the finish. Awesome board. Definitely think about it. And don't let the numbers and the ranges and stuff like that drive you away, because there's real world factors that are kind of involved, and you don't realize it until you're actually riding. Oh, the brakes, I didn't mention. The brakes are really good. So the Meepo has really strong brakes, but these brakes, they kind of go on just as strong as the Meepo's brakes initially, but then they seem to just dig in, get harder. Like, so, not by much, but it's enough where you really kind of notice it. You're leaning further back, getting prepared to brake when you're braking on this. I feel like the brakes are a little stronger, and good brakes are always good. It's always best to have better brakes. So the brakes are good. The motors, speed wise, I was riding it around, and at first I was a little bummed because I was like, oh, I thought it would be a little faster. And then I was pleasantly surprised to look down at the remote and it said speed 3. So I clicked it into 4, and I was like, hell yeah, this board's sick. It goes just as fast as the Meepo. Technically, maybe faster, I'm not sure. These are 90mm wheels, and the speedometer says 31. And I get it up to 31. So, the Meepo only does 30. And I'm not even sure if I ever did that on the flat. Like, it might have been like slight declines and stuff. I've gotten the Meepo up to like 37, I think, and it's really stable. This board, it's really stable at low speeds, and then at high speeds, I feel like it's just so responsive because your feet are on these lips on the board, your toes and heels. It's just really easy to initiate like a speed wobble. And my first ride downtown, I was in front of a car that was like gaining on me, and the road was smooth and open and flat, and I was like on the throttle and got speed wobble at like 20, 25 maybe, and it was terrifying because I've gotten wobble on my other board, but it's so stable that it could come out. Like, as long as you just lean more on your front foot and keep your feet kind of loose, you could ride it out. This thing, you could just feel how a speed wobble could get out of hand really fucking bad, really fast. So not sure if I have to tighten the bushings a little bit more. I might have to tighten the trucks more. Maybe tighten the rears, tighten the front a little bit. It also might just be my foot placement. I don't know, I have to get it done. I've only ridden it probably a handful of times, so still getting used to it. I did top it out though. It said 31. This Meepo only says 30. Even when you're just holding the boards and you're just wide open. So, not sure if they're playing tricks here. All these companies are competing to be able to say their boards could do something that maybe they're not really doing. Because my friend was on his Meepo and I'm next to him and we're going the same speed, and he says he's doing 15 and mine said I was doing like 16. So it might be a mile an hour off, so it looks like it's going faster, but it's not really. It's just what it's reading. But it seems like the numbers on the screens changes differently. So maybe my screen was kind of just lagging and the speed was coming down. We were coming off of a run and he said how fast he was going, and I looked and it wasn't the same. But it seems like the numbers kind of changed at different rates between the two remotes. So maybe that's just kind of like a illusion. But I have a feeling this board is capable of hitting its top speed on flat ground with me on it. The Meepo, I'm not sure if it'll be able to top out its top speed. It might be a little lower, like 28 or 27. It has no problem going up my street, which is like a slight hill. And I noticed at the end of the street I'm going like 25 or something. So they cruise around at pretty good speed. I mean, mid-20s, it's just no issues. The Bustin board, this board definitely seems like it accelerates a little faster, like a little quicker than the Meepo NLS Pro. That might be the 90mm wheels. Because if you have the smaller wheels, you're going to accelerate faster. And you're going to lose that top end speed. So, I don't know. Maybe with 100mm wheels, maybe the top speed on this board will be fast. You know, it might be like 32, 33. If that's really accurately depicted. But the motors just seem more powerful. Like when you're on the street, you take a corner and then you give it more throttle, full throttle. It just seems to pick up a little bit quicker. I'll notice it because I've ridden the two, so I know, but maybe somebody who doesn't know wouldn't really even notice it. But that's really the differences between all these boards though. They're so minuscule. It's like nothing to really, you know, disqualify one board from the next. I mean, if you're looking at boards with hub motors, they're generally all going to be the same. I mean, as long as you know the batteries are large batteries, and you're not buying some Amazon rip-off skateboard, it's probably going to be good. You know, and it's going to be different than a belt-driven skateboard. I've never driven one of those, so I can't really comment, but I just know we have a lot of pebbles and stones, and they're doing a lot of road construction around here. Eventually they're going to have all nice roads downtown and stuff, but for right now it's only my neighborhoods that are really smooth, so it just kind of made more sense to go with the hub motors, because I've heard pebbles could get in the belts, and plus the belts only last like a certain range, like 200 miles or something, and I think I've only ridden this, you know, 4 or 5 times, and I already have like over 70 miles, so that just seems like it's ridiculous. I'm not changing belts and stupid stuff like that. And the fact that I want to be able to push with my feet, get some exercise, and not just stand at a stoplight and then hit go. I kind of want to skate, sort of. And that's kind of what I noticed. I was kind of lacking when I had the Meepo, so I was really drawn to Bustin boards and some of their commercials showing the guys riding them like regular longboards. Kind of interested me a lot, so that's kind of what sealed the deal. I'm definitely going to make a long-term review, and maybe if this video gets any views, none of my videos actually get any views. For some reason, YouTube's not letting me tag them for some reason. But if it actually gets any views and people are interested, I'll make some riding videos. Maybe I'll do comparison videos. Maybe we'll see some videos coming soon. Depends if you guys want to see them or not. One other note before I end this is the charger. This is the Duolomo charger for the Bustin board. This is made in China, of course. This is the battery pack for the Meepo. They're generally the same size. I mean, the Bustin one's a little smaller, but the Meepo one would get warm while charging. The Bustin board thing gets hot. Like, this thing is freaking hot to the touch when it's charging. And it took a long freaking time for this to charge. The Meepo, I feel like I could get back here from a ride and it'd be on like 30%. Plug it in, go upstairs, come down an hour later, and it's 100%, or it's like 98, and it'll be like any minute now, done. This thing, I'll get back from a ride, throw it on the charger, come down, not know what it's at because there's no setting, there's no screen anywhere, there's just a red light, and you'll see that red light for a long time until it turns green, and then you could ride again. So that's kind of a bummer. It's kind of the slower charge, but they're different cell batteries, so it might be putting electricity into these cells at a different rate safely. So it just might be how it is. But it doesn't matter, because it's like when you get back from a ride, you're shot. My legs are shot. I'm freaking tired. I barely walk up the stairs. I wouldn't be riding for any time soon anyways, so giving it you know, a little while for it to cool down, all the electrics to cool down, and plug it in and leave it to charge for a little bit isn't such a bad thing or a deal breaker. you know. I mean, if you're riding this to work, you just bring the charger with you and you charge it. It's not a big deal. I haven't done any long distance tests. I live in a town that's kind of like a valley, so I can't really go across town because it'd be like down a huge hill, flat, and then up a huge hill. And I mean, like, mountainous huge hills. So it's in the hills kill the batteries, so it's hard to judge. A lot of my rides are like alongside the hill, like my neighborhoods. So we're kind of running parallel across the hills, and sometimes down the hill a little bit, or up the hill a little bit, and it makes it pretty good. I mean, I don't know what it comes back at because there's no screen that tells me what the percentage of battery left is. But I mean, you know, the route that we're running is 12 to 15 miles usually. Various inclines and declines. So I would bet, like, on eco, this thing could probably go 20 miles, I would think, on flat ground. Like if you're in like Long Island or something. Like, you could just ride this forever, probably. But they're really fun. And if you don't have an e-board or electric skateboard, definitely look into it. I know during the pandemic everybody was bored, so they started buying toys and stuff, and I'm glad I did because it's almost changed my life. I've really loved coming home from work. You know, I'm like 34 years old. I have a kid now. I have a son. And life gets hectic and stressful and stuff, and it's nice to just come home and tool around the neighborhood when it's dusk and quiet, and the neighborhood's quiet and it's peaceful, and it's just stress relieving, and I love it. And the adrenaline rush from going down the hill is insane. Like, it feels like you're gonna die every time you do it, but when you make it out to the bottom of the hill, it's addicting, and you just want to do it again, and you want to do it tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. I just highly recommend getting one. They're really, really fun. Doesn't even matter, like, if you're on a budget, just get any kind of board you could get, because it's that fun. I never even skated when I was a kid. I had skateboards. Oh, I actually have the board here that my uncle hand me down. It's like a 70s era metal tiger something, Bengal tiger, a little like downhill weird banana board thing. And we lived on a hill, so we didn't really do much skating, and this thing was like a death trap scary, so we would sit on them and kind of street luge down the hills, but that was as far as like skating would go for me. Maybe ride that around on the flat part of the street, but we never really skated. So there was a little learning curve with the boards. You know, you're going to tighten the trucks all the way just so you feel kind of stable on the boards, and then you're not going to be able to turn around in your own street because they're so tight. But once you get used to them and comfortable, then you get comfortable with the speed. That's one thing, the electric board, like even going from a normal skateboard to an electric board is going to be kind of like a learning curve, because it's like when do you ever go 30 miles an hour on a skateboard unless you're bombing the biggest hill ever? So you're doing that on the flat ground all the time with these things. You're just going to go out of your driveway and hit 25 going down the street. So there's building up to that. Nobody just hops on the board and does that. I remember my first couple weeks, it probably took me a week, but first couple days I was going down the street and I'm hitting 11 and I'm like, what did I just buy? Like, this is fast and I'm scared. But you get used to that speed. And next thing you know, you're doing 15. And then the next day you're doing 20. You get it after a week or two. And you get addicted really fast. I'm just warning you. Your wife or girlfriend will be yelling at you because you're skating too much. So just be prepared for that. But I dig the clear wheels. I'm hoping they make some more color options. It'd be cool. I would freaking love like neon green wheels. Urethanes would be awesome. That's actually the color of the bearings, but they're already dirty. These are Bustin board. I think I opted for like the 6-ball.